Hey there, friends. Happy Monday to you all. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. And of course, this is our first time seeing each other since Mother's Day. So I hope all the mothers had a wonderful Mother's Day. Now, last week, in my presentation last week, I made a comment and I got a few feedback from it. Essentially, I indicated that a business plan was not critical. Some persons misunderstood me to be saying that a business plan is not necessary, not required. That's not so. A business plan is critical, is important. All I was saying is, remember, we're dealing with budgets and its related cash flow management. So what I indicated is that in the absence of a business plan where you normally would have your detailed cash flow projections. In the absence of a business plan, the minimum that you should have is actually a budget and its related cash flow projections. So in a typical business plan, you will have your budgets, you will prepare your 2, 3, 4, 5 year cash flow statement. In the absence of a business plan, the least that you should have for planning purposes, one, a budget, and two, I'm saying your cash flow statement. Okay, so I thought I would just put that out of the way. Good. Today we're going to look at another topic. Sometime back, I wrote an article in one of our local paper, and I entitled it Everybody Wants to Be a Businessman or a Businesswoman. Okay, so my title of that article I wrote was Everybody Wants to Be a Businessman or a Businesswoman. Now, clients would normally call or drop by the office for consultation, business consultation, new business consultation. And the minute they come in, they would say, David, I want to start a business. And my first question is usually, why do you want to start a business? Why do you want to become a businessman or a businesswoman? That's my question. Now it's interesting. When I was a youngster growing up, and you hear, the older folks speaking, and they would say, Mr. So and so is a farmer, Mr. So and so is a carpenter, or so and so is a tailor, etc., etc. And then they would identify a certain individual as Mr. So and so is a businessman. And believe me, back then in our little minds, when you talk about Mr. So and so being a farmer or a carpenter or a mechanic, fine, it's all good. But when you say Mr. So and so is a businessman, wow, he's a businessman. And so the whole idea of a person being a businessman carries with it a level of importance, significance. That man in that city or that man in that village is a businessman. And so the concept of being a businessman back then, rings a bell that is so resounding. He's a businessman. Good. So coming back to my clients. Clients come, say, David, I want to become a businessman. And my question is, okay, why do you want to be a businessman? And the reasons start spilling forth. One, I just want to have a business. Okay, yes. So one person will say, I want to become a businessman. My question is, why do you want to become a businessman? And the answer is, I just want to have a business. Wow. Okay, good. Or I may get a response like, man, I'm tired of working for people. I'm tired of working for other people, other persons. I want to have my own business. So that is why I want to become a businessman, because I want to have my own business. I want to be a businessman. The third answer, potential answer. Well, you see, I have about another 2, 3 years before I retire. And I'm thinking that once I retire, since I'm still strong and able, then I would want to get into some business. And so I want to be, I'm contemplating becoming a businessman. Cool. A fourth possible response is, well, you see, I inherited a little money. I inherited a little money from my deceased grandma, and I'm thinking, what should I do with it? And I'm thinking that maybe I should go into business, you know. And of course, for the person who's about to retire soon, is thinking, man, I want to think how best should I utilize my retirement money. So I'm thinking that I would want to get into some business. And the last one is the individual who is fortunate enough to have gotten some hand-me-down money, inherited money, and decide, you know what, I think I want to go into business. Now, I am not by any means indicating that the decision to go into business that is based on any of or all four of these reasons would necessarily fail. No, I'm by no means saying that. What I'm saying, however, is that those four reasons given as to the drivers for you to want to become a businessman ain't cutting it. Those are no basis on which to make a determination or to take the decision that I want to become or I want to be a businessman. Uh-uh. It does not work that way. And unfortunately, especially small businesses, when you ask, how did you get into being a businessman? You would find that there's either one of these reasons give or some version, some variant of any of these responses would be what prompted the individual to get into a business. So let's just look very quickly at this whole concept of being a businessman or a businesswoman. Okay, good. Simply put, simply put, a business is based on the existence of a demand for a product or a service and a related supply of this product or this service. Simply put, you must want and I must be able to provide. Once we have the two aspects that I just mentioned here, demand and supply, then we can speak of creating a business. So therefore, if you're saying, I want to become a businessman, then I'm advising you that ensure that those components are present. Let's look at the demand side of things. On the one hand, it's either you're going to say that based on your observations, based on information that you gather, etc., you have discovered or you have ascertained that there is an existing demand for a product or a service that is not being satisfied by a current provider. And so, therefore, you see an opportunity where you can now step in and become the provider of that product, the provider of that service. Now, that is the, so to speak, sweetest kind of business you could ever get into. Why? Because the market is already there. The demand is there, and so the demand is actually seeking for potential suppliers. Okay? The demand is already there. And so the minute you appear on the scene and say, yes, I can provide this product, yes, I can provide this service, and once the price, etc., is satisfactory, then you know right away, I do not have to create a market. Okay? The demand is there. I just need to bring the supply. And once I bring the supply to be in touch with the demand, the market is established. I am a businessman and a very profitable, productive, lucrative businessman. And that is, as I mentioned, that is the sweetest business you can have, where the demand is already there waiting to be satisfied. On the other hand, you may consider yourself to be an inventor, a visionary, and so you're saying, okay, I think that I can come up with some type of service or product that I think would be of use to individuals, and I can find a way of convincing them that this is something that you ought to be using. This is a service that you ought to be utilizing. Now, remember, in contrast to the first scenario where the demand was there waiting to be satisfied, in this situation, you're saying, I'm going to create something, I'm going to provide a service, I'm going to introduce to you a particular service, and I'm going to show you why you should use the product or why you should utilize the service. No, that's a little more difficult because, yes, the product or the service may be good, right? Have a lot of utility, usefulness, but then you still have to go through that learning curve or that convincing curve of saying to the average person that, hey, this is a product you should consider using. This is a service that you should consider utilizing. Either way, you are now producing, providing something that will be of use to a person, and so you're hoping that they will be willing to buy. They will be willing to exchange value for this value that you have to offer. So once again, if that is the scenario, then you have a good basis on which to decide that I want to become a businessman. So the first one was a ready demand. Yes, go for it. Be a businessman. Second scenario, you think you can create something and make a business of it because you can convince individuals that this is the way to go, these are the things to be had, this is the product to use, etc., then go for it. Very good reasons to become a businessman, to get into the process. All right, let's go back to the first scenario where there's a ready demand. There may be a demand, and there may also be existing suppliers of this demand, but either due to growth in the demand or the limitations on the potential suppliers to these demands, that you find out, well, you know what, there's still an opportunity for me to step into this existing market and still carve out a little section for myself. Because right now, just using loose numbers, of the total 100% demand that this market has, I can see where only 75–80% of it is currently being fulfilled. And so there's an opportunity for me to come in and grab that unserviced, underutilized 20% of the market. If that's existing, then without question, go for it. Become a businessman, become a businesswoman. Okay? Great. One more thing I need to mention, which a lot of us do not think about. Just as though you are full of enthusiasm, full of energy and drive, okay? Full of analyses as to how do I enter this market? How do I ensure that this is a profitable venture? It is critical that you also consider what we refer to as an exit strategy. Exit strategy. The only thing that lasts forever is, yes, no other but the good old salvation. Nothing else but the good old salvation. Meaning, therefore, so you enter this business whether to satisfy an existing demand, whether to create something new, whether to as it were, take advantage of the underutilized percentage of the market, on the service rather. But you need to bear in mind that there's something that is called business life cycle. There's something that's called product life cycle. Now let's look at business life cycle. Simple, like any other cycle. It begins, it cycles, and it comes back and it ends. Some things only have one cycle. So it begins, it ends, and that's it. It really ends. Some things will begin, go full circle, come back to the beginning, and keep going around. Now, when it comes to business, oh, and before I go there, you're going to find that while you're going through what we call the business cycle, there's going to be something looking like this. If you should put the business cycle like on a graph, not getting complex, you're gonna find that sometimes you have a wave going up and then it dips down and it goes up and down. What it means, that's the nature of business. There'll be growth, right? There'll be decline. Usually, when you just start your business and you're getting up to speed, you're going to find that there's steady growth. Once you reach to a level of great momentum, then of course the curve goes up, high profits, high revenues. But of course, you can't just keep climbing, increasing, improving forever. And so you will level off at a plateau. And after that, you find that you start to go down the hill. Now, very important. If we're talking about a product cycle or a business cycle, you now need to be sensitive to the fact that you need to, people like to call it, reinvent, re-engineer your processes, re-engineer your plans, your strategies, because you have to take into consideration this potential ebb and flow and prepare yourself for when you're having the downward trend. That's a cycle. You ride a wave, you go down into a trough. And so I'm saying, being a businessman, yes, you're excited about getting into the business, you're excited about making money, you're excited about satisfying this demand, etc. But bear in mind that you must also have an exit strategy. Some businesses, some products will have a cycle where once it peaks and then ebbs, you can always re-inject some life into it, into the service, into the product. That's where your marketer and your R&D people comes in, and they will do whatever to ensure that you have more than one life to this business or one life to this product, one cycle. So you go full circle, full cycle, and you come around and you do your thing again. However, there will come a time when all the signs say to you, all right, okay, you have flogged this horse as much as it can be flogged. It has gone the required distance, and now it is approaching the sunset of its life. And so it is time to plan to retire the business. It's time to plan to retire the product. And a number of businesses, they do well in the productive, profitable years, but then not being in tune with that time when a business is saying, okay, or a business or a product is saying, oh, I think I'm tired. I think it's time for me now to go to rest, so to speak. They keep flogging, they keep going at it, pumping more money, pumping more investment, pumping more research and development into that product, and they find that they end up reaping what we call diminishing returns. And that is very important. Promise I wouldn't get too technical, but just bear with me here. Simply put, diminishing return is where you continue to get a positive return on your investment, but the rate or the size of that return is smaller and smaller. So, in other words, in the first year, you got an 80% return. In the second year, you got a 70% return. In the third year, you get a 60% return. You will agree that all 3 years show positive returns, but the size of the return is less. Year one, it was 80, year two, it is 70, year three, it is 60. So it is a diminishing returns. So you have to be sensitive to the fact that you're going to watch this, you're going to do as best as you can, as much as you can to keep it being positive. But there's going to come a time when the diminishing return has reached that point where it is no longer business savvy, or it's no longer wise for you to continue along this path. So at that time, you may want to reconsider your business plan, your business strategy, or this could be the indication that it is now time for me to discontinue being a businessman or a businesswoman. Okay, good. Now, I thought I would bring this to your attention because a number of small businesses, when I speak to entrepreneurs, the thinking behind them getting into being businessmen and businesswomen are really not as it ought to be. As I said earlier on, it will not necessarily indicate that you will be unsuccessful, but I'm saying that the mindset, the thought process, the planning, the rationale that goes into making that decision to be a businessman is very important, and it is very significant to the success or the failure of the business. So remember now, I would suggest, if your reason for wanting to go into business is because you just want to have a business, forget it. If the reason is solely that you're just tired of working for other people and so you want to be your own boss, your own business, forget it. If the thinking is that you're about to retire, you're gonna get your retirement money, 60, 70, $80,000, and you're thinking, what should I do with this money so that it can give me ongoing income stream, then be careful. If you just want to go into business, be careful. You could lose your shirt and more. Okay, that's not a good reason to go into business. Find some other safe, investment vehicle, so to speak, to put your money in if you must. And the fourth thing, if you're fortunate enough that you have earned, some, not earned, you have inherited some money from, a deceased parent, some grant, whatever, some endowment, but you have inherited some funds, and you're thinking, okay, now that I have this money, what do I do? If that is the base on which you're going into business, then forget it. And what I'm saying is that it can start there. Don't get me wrong, right? The decision to be a businessman, nothing is wrong if it starts at any of these four points that I just mentioned, but it needs to go, once it starts there, it needs to move away from there as quickly as possible and move into some very analytical, number crunching, okay, product or service positioning, ascertaining your market. Where is the demand? Is it being fully satisfied? Is there a little niche or an untapped segment of the market that I can jump into? All these things have to be gotten into so that you can become that successful businessman or businesswoman that you want to be. And so yes, just like when I was a youngster, Being a businessman or a businesswoman is a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. However, again, it is a challenging thing. It is a rewarding thing. And remember now, it takes a certain mindset and it takes a certain, I call, bulldog mentality, meaning that I am not giving up. I am going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep pushing because at the end of the day, I am the one, right, that determines whether or not a dollar flows in or $0 flow into this business. And so that's what it's about. All right. So let's bear that in mind. For those who are in business, if you have not changed the way you think about your business, come, you need to get on speed, get up to speed right now. For those who are contemplating getting into business, then be mindful and be advised accordingly. Okay, so there you have it. Once again, David Etienne of Etienne's Place coming to you in another week with other tidbits. As usual, I encourage you, sign on to my channel, sign on, keep, and be informed. Keep up with our presentations, tap into all those that are gone on before, and ensure that those that are forthcoming will be brought to your attention. And as usual, if you have questions, comments, keep them flowing, because I really like when I get the feedback from my clients. Sometimes you ask some questions and you make some comments that I'm saying, "Whoa, never thought of that one." And it helps me to grow. It helps me to prepare myself to deliver to you in a better and more informative way. Okay. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful week. The weather is, as I said, is so beautiful. Try to get as much sunshine and outdoors. And for those who are affected by the pollen, sorry, but still try to get as much of the sunshine, fresh air as is possible. So God bless. Have a good week. Thank you for joining me. And as usual, keep on keeping on until next time.